Now, the Saudi Defense Ministry is saying that 2 cruise missiles were intercepted and destroyed in an Al-Kharaj, which essentially means that they are now responding as well, that they are trying to destroy any missiles which are being intercepted in their airspace. But the question really is that what US and Israel had calculated that if it was just about the regime change, then that would be achieved as soon as Ayatollah Khamenei is killed. That did not really happen. You have the next rung of leadership in charge. Khamenei at that time did not really have a designated successor, but his son has been appointed by the 3-member council.
Yes, yes, Maria, and that is very big news indeed, because the plan, as I mentioned on day one, was regime decapitation, to collapse the leadership and to degrade Iran's ability to launch missiles. The Iranians have already wargamed the scenario. They've prepared their own contingency plans. One is, of course, a very smooth transition of leadership. The other one is what's being called the mosaic strategy, which is that instead of relying on a single command and control structure, which is very vulnerable to decapitation, they have delegated a lot of authority to their field commanders who man the drones and the cruise missiles and the ballistic missiles, and they have their orders. They know what is to be done in case of the True Promise 4. When the signal for that is given, they all have their targets. They know which areas they have to strike, which country they have to hit, which target in which country. All of that is so far the US plan is not going as per plan, Maria, and Iran's resilience is something that the US may not have counted on. When you make all these plans, you forget the fact that the enemy has agency as well. The enemy will also be planning, right? And in this case, you completely underestimated Iran's ability to strike not just at US bases, but also at US commercial targets across West Asia. The fact that Iran had the ability to hit multiple countries, again, something never done in the history of warfare, that one country in the span of 24 hours has launched over 800 projectiles targeting a 3,000-kilometer battle space, 12 countries all across, starting from Cyprus in the west to Oman in the east. That's like nearly 3,000 kilometers apart, and they've struck multiple targets there. They've gone through some of the most capable air defense umbrellas on the planet, which is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense THAAD batteries. They've gone through Patriot PAC-3 missile batteries. This is the kind of war that nobody expected Iran would carry out, Maria.
And a report that is coming in, Sandeep, now is that the Central Intelligence Agency station at the US Embassy, which is the CIA station at the US Embassy in Saudi Arabia, was in fact hit on Monday by a suspected Iranian drone. That's what a source has told Reuters. That is what Reuters is reporting, that the embassy, which is located in the Saudi capital of Riyadh, is among the US sites that have been hit so far in this conflict. And Saudi Arabia's defense ministry has said that the embassy was hit by 2 drones, which resulted in a limited fire and some material damage. Sandeep, we have been speaking about the cost of war. It's mounting on the US side. The US has now said clearly that all its citizens who are in Saudi Arabia, who are not needed for emergency services, must leave Saudi. This is almost like the seen as the oasis of peace and prosperity. This entire Middle East is in crisis. And most of these countries, Sandeep, from Qatar to UAE to Saudi Arabia, have a very high expat population. And most of them are American passport holders.
Mario, this is another aspect of that miscalculation that I mentioned. The fact that you thought that the conflict could be contained within Iran's borders, that you would decapitate the regime, you would destroy their capability to wage war. But Iran has clearly expanded the theater of conflict, and this is something that the US had not prepared for. The fact that you have US nationals stranded today in West Asia suggests that this was not war game. They did not anticipate this. They are now in a very dangerous situation of mission creep. where your objectives, your aims and objectives are constantly shifting, and your enemy is now outwitting you literally at every stage. We are not very clear how long Iran can last this conflict, if it actually goes on to beyond 4 weeks. But as of now, on day 5, the Iranians are still very much in the game, Maria. They have outfoxed the
Yes.
US and Israeli forces. They have responded. They have responded in a very graded measure. They've carried out pinpoint targeting of several targets, US bases, US installations, and of course, oil refineries, oil targets. They're basically knocking at all the targeting, folders that they must have created exactly for a day like this, Maria.